Welcome back to another episode of the Entrepreneurs Podcast. And the reason why we call it the Entrepreneurs Podcast, because it is a place for real entrepreneurs and business owners to bear it all. We have a very special guest on the building, in the building. A lot of people, when they think about attorneys, they think about, people out there, coming up, looking up all the rules and making people pay all sorts of money that they should not have to pay. Well, actually, attorneys are actually professionals at reading. And I've heard this from multiple people that attorneys get paid so much is because most people hate to read. So we're going to talk to an attorney that I truly believe not only knows how to read, but knows how to convey the message, right? And right before we get into it, just so you know, this episode of the Entrepreneurs Podcast is sponsored by the ShieldWolf Strongholds, a wealth protection company. If you're looking to make sure that you're taken care of, that your family's taken care of, you need life insurance, but you want to make sure it's set up in a way to where you can spend and money tax-free, and it can grow tax-free, and you can utilize it tax-free from Internal Revenue Codes 101A7702 and 72E. If you really want to learn that, hit me up. I got a low fee. Please tell people who you are and what do you do.
Hey, Rand, it's great to be on here. We finally made it happen. Hi, folks. My name is Shearman. I'm a property casualty attorney. What I do is I assist people and businesses in pursuing their claims against their insurance companies for damage to their property that may result from all sorts of weather-based or, unforeseen occurrences. Weather-based events or unforeseen occurrences like hurricanes, tornadoes, fire, pipe burst, hail, a variety of different causes of losses. Anything that's covered by a policy of insurance, we help to maximize people and businesses' recovery against their insurance companies. Oftentimes, people and businesses are underpaid by their insurance companies or wrongfully denied. That climate is becoming more and more frequent, and we are called to action more and more frequently.
Oh man, how long have you been doing that?
I've been doing this for years. I mean, I did my first case about a year out of law school. So I'd say about 7 years. I've been fully committed to this practice area for just over 5.
Ah, man. And I'm glad you mentioned that you're fully committed to this practice area, because we're going to get into that. A lot of people think once they meet an attorney, you can ask that attorney any question about anything, about any industry, and that attorney is going to give you the right answer. And more times than not, attorneys are trained at being confident. And even if an attorney does not know the answer, because that's not his specialty or her specialty, they're going to say it in a way like, man, I don't have to do any more research. So I definitely want to talk to you about what you specialize in, which is first party property and casualty. What's something you know now that you wish you knew when you first started? 7 years ago when you did your first case, and 5 years ago when you started focusing primarily on this field.
Sure. I wish that I had the sort of, the wealth of construction knowledge and building repair methodology and, that sort of knowledge that I have now. I wish I knew back then, how to teach other attorneys how to do this type of work. Because I definitely was not good at that when I was first, fully committed to this type of work.
Okay, so it seems like if an attorney is looking to specialize in first party property and casualty loss, that they might want to either shadow a contractor or take a course. How did you extend your knowledge in building construction?
Sure. So I learned the good old-fashioned hard way. As issues came up in litigation, I would speak to the experts that either introduced me to my clients in the first place, or that I retained to assist as experts on the cases, and that's how I learned. Was presenting the arguments of defense attorneys, or arguments that I would foresee defense attorneys making, and asking them, hey, what do you think about this, or about this issue, or about this repairability argument? That's how I learned. I have invested more time into reading and learning more about manufacturer specifications, local code and ordinances, things like that, local law and ordinances. But I learned just as most attorneys do, and just hitting issues as they came at me.
Oh yeah, man. One of the misconceptions about a professional is that they know everything off the top of their head. And
I'm a legal specialist. I specialize in law.
You specialize in law, and they believe that you should be able to go to this specialist, whether it's an attorney, whether it's a doctor, whether it's a public insurance adjuster, whether it's a dentist, a cosmetologist, anybody that specializes in something specific. They don't always know the answer. Now, there are a lot of base questions that they should definitely know off the top of their head. But the reason why they call it a law practice, the reason why they call it a doctor's practice, is because these people who are at the highest, like whenever you, back in the day when you say, well, what do you want your child to be when they grow up? And people usually would say, I want them to be an attorney, or I want them to be a doctor, because they believe that that's one of the fields that is very professional and earns a lot of money. And even these fields that are at the highest, that you've self-admittedly said, they call their offices practices, because they understand that you can never learn anything. But a true professional, if they don't know the answer, they know exactly where to find it. How do you choose your experts?
Sure. I mean, based on their CVs and resumes and their presentability, that's a large factor that I think most experts really need to focus on and reflect on, is their presentability, particularly how likable they are when they speak to people, because that jury is going to be listening, and your testimony is a crucial component in proving our clients' cases. And I think that's obviously they need to have the knowledge and the ability to properly explain their area of expertise and the different issues surrounding that particular case. But their presentability is a large factor in terms of how well they present, how likable they are, how relatable they are. I do want to go back to what you said earlier about, just because, someone's an attorney doesn't mean they know everything about every practice area. There are definitely practice areas that I admittedly do not know anything, and I do not pretend to. I would refer you to somebody who does. But you'll find whenever there's a large catastrophic, a weather event like a hurricane, there are a lot of attorneys that are quick to jump into this field of practice that don't specialize in this practice area and are what I would consider, side hustlers or opportunists. And it's really important to, choose the right attorney and the right law firm when you're pursuing your property casualty claim, because it can make a huge difference in your outcome. So, I work with Galen Hare at Hare Shannara Trial Attorneys, Insurance Claim HQ, and this is our specialty.
Exactly. And a lot of people don't know what first party property loss is. If somebody asked you, is there no specific way that you typically explain it? Like if you wanted somebody to understand that 30,000 miles, if just like soon as you say it, they like, you see that light bulb moment. Is there no specific way you explain what you specialize in?
Sure. I mean, I generally explain it out like I just did, but you know, getting
In
technical.
passing, because here's the thing. I know what you're known for is going to a lot of networking. So you can't typically explain it in detail like you just did. If you just like real quick,
I'll give you the technical explanation, right? First party stands for the relationship between the insurance company that is the defendant in potential litigation or active litigation. First party deals with the relationship between the claimant and the insurance company. So if it's a first party claim, it is a claim that the claimant is making against their own insurance, an insurance company that they have a contract, which is also known as the policy. Mm-hmm. So with whom they have a contract. So as opposed to, say, you hitting me in the rear while we're driving our vehicles and me sustaining a personal injury, that would be a third-party claim that I'm making against your insurance, right? Unless I were to go after my underinsured motorist coverage, that would then be a first-party claim. So, you know, while I have undertaken third-party losses before, most of what I do is in the realm of first-party property casualty. So it is a person or a business's own insurance company, you know, failing to fulfill their obligations to their insured under the policy that insured pays for month in and month out.
Yeah, and a lot of people are not only scared to sue or file a lawsuit against their insurance company, they're especially scared to sue or file a lawsuit against their own insurance company. So you got first party claims, their own insurance company, and then third party claim if they're filing it against another person's insurance. But here's the thing, a person typically has more rights under a first party lawsuit. Is that not true?
Absolutely, yeah, because that's a special relationship, right? That is an insurance company that that my clients have a direct contractual relationship with, that they have certain expectations of, right? I mean, they pay this insurance company every month to insure, especially in the cases of, you know, people's homes and their you know, personal businesses. Those are their largest assets, and it represents a overwhelming majority of what they've invested their lives earned money into. I'd say people's businesses and their houses make up more than 90% of where their money goes, right? In terms of the assets that they have, you know, in terms of non-consumables. So, you know, they pay that monthly premium to protect those assets. And when you find out that your insurance company is not honoring its end of the deal, it is a traumatic realization that also, you know, oftentimes sends people into a panic and affects people's lives in more ways than are typically thought of or mentioned by the media. Usually when you have a hurricane, you see this big overview of all this damage, right? What you don't see is the zoom in of the impact that it has on people's lives, that whose insurance companies are not doing the right thing. And it can lead to, you know, it impacts all the relationships in their lives, can lead to marital issues, can lead to, contemplated suicide even. I've had clients tell me, you know, you saved my life. You saved our marriage. So, you know, these claims are a big deal to people. And like I said, unfortunately, the insurance industry, the environment that they are promulgating when they are handling claims is a very adversarial one. And it's growing more and more adversarial every month, every year.
Yeah. And the main way to combat that, in my opinion, is to make sure to educate on duties after a loss, because I definitely want to cover that with you. The main reason why people like attorneys are important, people like public insurance public insurance adjusters are important is because we specialize in looking at, interpreting, and executing the duties after a loss, which most people will agree. If you were to look at a typical duties after a loss itemized list of what you have to do, the average person cannot do that. Even an average person in a specialized industry cannot do that, just for the reason we just said. They might specialize in astrophysics. They don't specialize in handling a claim.
Correct. And no, the public insurance adjusters are very important for that exact reason. That's one of the main reasons I think public insurance adjusters are very important. Usually at the point where a property owner is looking to is needing to fulfill those duties after loss, they often have not hired an attorney at that point. And that can seriously impact their ability to recover if they do not fulfill those obligations under the policy. And the real cold hard truth of why I have a very secure job, and a lot of public insurance adjusters have a very secure job, is that people do not know what they are purchasing when they purchase their insurance policies. If consumers played a much stronger role in actually negotiating what is in these policies that they're purchasing, if they were actively sitting at a table with an agent and actually going back and forth in terms of price and what is covered, and those things were more clear and the language wasn't as ambiguous as it often is, then I would not have as many clients, but assuming that insurance companies would do the right thing anyway, which is a big assumption, to be honest. But the fact of the matter is, a lot of people purchase these insurance policies and they assume that it's meant to, that it's negotiated in good faith, that it's going to cover everything. And oftentimes that's not the case, and I feel like agents really need to do a good job of explaining to people exactly what they're getting in every policy of insurance that they purchase.
Oh yeah, because what you're referring to is the right to negotiate, and I recall actually Galen. I had a conversation with Galen years back that we recorded and put out, and then I remembered it was a comment on there because Galen mentioned, he said the same thing. It would be a better environment if insureds were able to actually negotiate their policy. And the person in the comments, they didn't understand. They said something to the point of, you can negotiate. You can tell them what you want and you can tell them what you don't want. What he didn't understand is you're talking about different additions to the policy, but the language stays the same. An insurance policy is considered a contract of adhesion, which means that there's a drafting party and there's a non-drafting party. The drafting party makes all of the guarantees, all of the warranties. Nothing is able to be negotiated in changing that language to make more sense and be more simple for the insured. That's what Jared is talking about right now. That's what Galen was talking about. It would be a better environment if an insured was able to go and sit down and say, hey, this word right here, it says mitigation. Well, explain to me what it means. All right, if that makes sense, let's keep it. But if mitigation still doesn't make sense for me, is it not possible for us to change this to keep the damage from getting worse?
Correct. Yeah, and look, the good news is that the general rule of contracts or obligations in Louisiana, which is the type of law that we have under civil law, is that the person who is a party to a contract that did not write it, ambiguities are typically resolved in their favor. Any ambiguity in a contract is typically it should be presumed to be resolved in favor of against the party that wrote it, because they had the opportunity to make the language more clear and they didn't. So that's the good thing, but a lot of people wouldn't know that. For example, when I see hurricanes, we've had hurricanes impact Louisiana. a lot of insurance companies would cite these mold exclusions or limitations in policies and say, oh, I'm sorry, you have a mold limit of $10,000. And oftentimes that limit did not apply because mold was not the cause of loss. The hurricane, the wind damage, the wind-driven rain was the cause of loss that then resulted in the mold growing. So that limit should not apply oftentimes. So, it's stuff like that people, where people get, taken advantage of, unfortunately, unless they know somebody or know an attorney, or, sometimes it's a public insurance adjuster, that will refer them to an attorney once an insurance company refuses to perform its duties under the policy like it should. And then people are like, oh my God, I thought that didn't make any sense. And that's because it doesn't, right? So it's really unfortunate that, but the truth of the matter, and what people often fail to realize, and, I have clients that come to me and they say, but Jared, I mean, I've never made a claim. I've been paying this insurance company for 30 years. I made my payments on time every month. And I'm like, I understand. And you may feel that you have a personal relationship with that insurance company that, you would think would make them do the right thing and have some type of conscience. But at the end of the day, corporations in the United States are for-profit corporations have one main goal, and that is to make as much money for their ownership, their shareholders, as possible. And that is called a fiduciary duty. And that fiduciary duty to their shareholders overrides any obligations that they have with any party that they make a contract with, whether it's their own third-party claims adjusters or independent adjusters, as they're often referred to, or their insureds. That duty to make as much money as possible is, that duty to their shareholders is their number one duty, and that takes precedent over everything else.
Man, you just said a mouthful, because I think we're teaching people a lot of these terms, because even with the contract of adhesion, like you said, being that they are the drafting party, they had every chance and opportunity to make these words clear. The reason why they did not make them clear is because it's not meant to be clear. The way I describe it is, when I would explain this to people, I would say, you may not remember the step by step, but do you remember the feelings that you had when you were first learning how to drive? A little apprehension, a little hesitation, a little fear, right? And usually what you do is you back out of that driveway, and usually the first place you're driving is maybe in your neighborhood or maybe an empty parking lot. Then eventually you move to the busiest street in your neighborhood. It's not a highway, but it's just that street in your neighborhood that has 4 lanes instead of 2, right? And then eventually you move into getting onto an on-ramp. So scary. The first time getting on an on-ramp, coming in so slow, and all those cars moving so fast, right? But then you make it. Then eventually, depending on if you live in a city that has bodies of water, you get the confidence of driving over a bridge, right? The way I describe it to insured is I say, imagine that first day you first learn how to drive, and then they put you in a NASCAR race.
Yeah. I mean,
like,
exactly. It puts you in a NASCAR race your first day of driving. Oftentimes, people's first experience with these first-party property losses are very serious, catastrophic damage.
Yeah.
Whether it's a hurricane or a tornado or something to that effect, something that causes significant damage to their property, and and like you said, it's their first time dealing with anything like that, and it's a horrible feeling. Most people automatically assume, right, I'm good, all right, I've been paying for this insurance for years, I've paid on time, I'm a good customer, right? There's no way they're not going to come here and do what's right. And you'd be surprised.
Here's the thing, to your point, that example you brought up with the mole. So for example, you can have the smart. I've had very smart clients, right? And very smart, but you show a client that mole exclusion to a smart person that's never dealt with insurance claim. Oh, that makes sense. Oh, my policy excludes mole. They discovered mole. It must not be included. But actually, no, the only reason the mole is there is because something that may be covered caused it. But they need
exactly
like a public insurance adjuster or an attorney like you to actually say, hold on, no, listen, I've been driving NASCAR for a couple years now. It's simple to me. It's moving in slow motion to me. Go ahead and get in this passenger side. Don't worry, we have a roll cage. If we hit a road bump, that roll cage is gonna protect us, and we're gonna get right back in the race.
Yeah, no, I mean, unfortunately, some people just, they think like, oh, there's no way my insurance company would lie to me or, attempt to deceive me or, not do the right thing. And when they get that denial letter that is, just lacks any type of specificity in terms of why they're not, they just copy and paste a bunch of language on it. It just says, oh, based on our investigation of your claim, at this time, your claim is denied until a point, if any, where we receive additional information or additional information may come to light that would give a reason to alter that determination. And then it just states a bunch of exclusionary language in the policy that they don't give any type of explanation whatsoever. People are just like, I don't understand, but I can't imagine that they would lie to me. That would be illegal, right? That would be wrong. And I was laughing, but it really is what goes through a lot of people's heads, and they're just stunned.
Oh yeah, and to be fair,
and then when you send somebody out there like yourself, someone who's a public insurance adjuster or a otherwise or an expert, whether it's a any type of damage, someone who's going to go out there and do a real damage assessment to the property, a fair, unbiased damage assessment, and they find out what their insurance company didn't do and what they were supposed to do, and what they missed, they are stunned.
Yeah.
Oh my God, you mean I have all of this mold in my walls? Yes.
Oh yeah.
And it's because the insurance company did nothing to identify that you were having this problem, that there was water intrusion into the property. I've seen cases where they didn't even go inside the house.
Wow.
After a Category 4 hurricane. They just wrote, insured said there was no interior damage. That doesn't seem to constitute an investigation to me. If you know that a roof was significantly damaged, you would think that anyone who's doing their job in terms of investigating damage to the property would go inside of the building that had significant roof damage to see if water came in, right? You'd be surprised how often they don't. How often they don't get into an attic, for example. More than I've seen them get into that attic, I have seen them not even consider it. Not even check to see if the sheathing, what holds the roof on, is, good or damaged or what condition it's in. They just, a lot of times they're paid based on a per inspection basis, a specific sum of money. Oftentimes that's the case with these third-party adjusters that are brought in when the insurance company doesn't have enough people to quickly or promptly investigate all the losses in a high damage area, if that is a wide area, like with a hurricane, for example. And they're paid I've seen them be paid on a per inspection basis. Do you think that guy is trying to examine every bit of that property as much as possible to make sure he is documenting every element of damage to that property. You think he's trying to get in and out as quickly as possible so he can move on to the next inspection?
I don't know. It might be a fair assumption to say the latter, right?
It's always the case, but
yeah. And to be fair, like you said, you're not going to say it's always the case, because even I've encountered amazing independent adjusters. I've encountered great staff adjusters. I've looked at a settlement letter. I've looked at what was paid by the carrier. I looked at the damages, and I said, you don't need me. Based off me looking at your policy, based off me looking at this letter, based off me observing the damages, you have been put back to where you were. But prior to this, I've seen it, but the exception doesn't change the rule, right?
I've seen it very rarely.
Yeah, like very rarely. So,
very rarely. And the cases where I've seen it are where, you know, an insurance company came out, they paid as little as possible, and an insurer either did the work themselves because they didn't have enough money to actually hire a professional to do it, or they had a family member that does, restoration work or works on houses or buildings. And those are the situations most of the time where I've seen that a fair amount was paid under the claim, arguably. But that's because the property owner took it upon themselves to do the work themselves, or was, done a favor by somebody.
Yeah, and the way that I explain it to people, I actually heard this from I believe it was Cal Spoon. The way that I explain this to people is I say, all right, so just imagine that you have a friend that asks you to borrow $1,000, right? Okay. And this is your friend. So of course you loan them the $1,000, but because you know that you have a bad memory, you write down what they owe you on a piece of paper, you put it in an envelope, and then you put it in a drawer, right? And let's say 1 year later, this friend comes to you, and this friend says, hey, Jared, hey, how much do I owe you? I can't remember. Can you tell me how much I owe you? And instead of you going to look at that paper to confirm how much your friend owes you, you say, I don't know. What do you think? And your friend might say, I don't know. I think it was $250. I think you loaned me $250. That scenario of not having the common sense to go and just look at what you documented to confirm that it's true, it's the same as asking your insurance company, the company that owes you the money, to tell you how much they owe you. Instead of just going to that drawer, that metaphorical, that paper, that envelope that has how much, which is your policy. Even if you feel as if they paid you, you should call. A lot of people would say it makes good sense to contact a public adjuster, contact an attorney to look at that paper and confirm what they owe you is correct.
I'll go back to that example that I've cited before in this in this conversation, and that's the example where you were to rear end me with your car. I mean, obviously I consider you a friend, a very good man, but most cases, would you trust the person who rear-ended you with their vehicle to tell you how much damage your car has, or how much bodily injury you've sustained as a result of that collision? That wouldn't make much sense. They'd probably say $100, right?
Yeah.
And that's a mistake that a lot of people make. They think that their insurance adjuster that works for their insurance company, or works for a company that works for their insurance company, is their adjuster. The only time that you really have your own, someone who's adjusting the claim with your best interest in mind and is doing a completely, has no interest in the outcome, is if you hire a third-party expert like a public insurance adjuster. Someone who's going to come out there and doesn't owe you the money. right? If you know, they have no reason to understate the amount that you're owed. You know, now insurance companies will say, oh, well, they're working on a contingent basis, which they can't do here in Louisiana, but in other states they can. Oh, they have a reason to overstate the amount of damages. And look, that may be, there are always going to be some people who are bad actors on both sides of every industry, right? But I've found that, you know, the public insurance adjusters that I've worked with that have, you know, been retained by clients that I've worked with before my involvement, they have been good, honest, hardworking people that have typically been, you know, in the correct ballpark in terms of the damages to the property. So, you know, again, if you think that your insurance adjuster, the adjuster for your insurance company, is your adjuster and that he's out looking out for you, you know, where that field adjuster or that independent adjuster may be a very good person. You know, I've seen, I can't tell you how many times I've had insureds, their contractors, their public insurance adjusters tell me that that field adjuster came out and they agreed with everything and acknowledged all the damages. And then all of a sudden they get a denial letter in the mail, partial or full, or they get an estimate that excludes all of the things that the field adjuster said he was putting on his report, because the desk adjuster got their hands on it or a supervisor got their hands on it and said, nope, we're not paying for this, we're not paying for this, we're not paying for this. You know, and it's absolutely shocking. And that's why I am a very big proponent of, in states where, you know, there's only one party's consent required to record an interaction, I highly recommend recording, you know, adjusters, and insurance adjusters and insurance company expert, like an engineer, their inspections. I highly recommend it. You know, because if you catch that, you know, if you have that field adjuster stating those things like, oh my God, yeah, this roof was really damaged by this hurricane, they're going to need to replace it, I'm going to write for a full replacement, and then you get that estimate back and the roof isn't even included on it, there's just some like gutters and a fence, you know, you have that evidence, and that really can help an insured, you know, recover against the insurance company. Because if I were the defense attorney, which I have been before, I've worked on the insurance defense side, and I got a file where, you know, where the company, a company I'm working for, is sending out an adjuster to a property, and he says, oh, all of these things are damaged, and then the estimate with the payment letter that the company sent out to that insured is missing a whole bunch of those things, or where the adjuster is saying that he's putting all those things in his report, and when they get it, it just happens to be gone. Those are gonna be very strong. That's gonna be very strong evidence against the insurance company, and whether or not they handled that claim in good faith, and whether or not they violated, you know, unfair claims practice laws in whichever state you're in, and that can help resolve a case very quickly. You know, so I highly recommend that people do that. You know, or they may say in their report, oh, I spent 2 hours at the property. And in reality, you know, they only spent 30 minutes. Well, if you have that inspection recorded, guess what? That expert just lost all credibility on that bogus report they wrote about how the damage on your roof wasn't caused by the 130 mile per hour winds and the rain that came with it. It was wear and tear, or improper installation, or whatever other argument that they make. And they have some engineer write up to support their argument. You know, so I think that that's very important. I am doing a favor to because like I said, public insurance adjusters and contractors are often the first person that an insured will interact with when they have a claim. And I want to make sure they'll often attend, you know, the first adjuster inspection, second adjuster inspection, or maybe an engineer inspection, and I want to make sure that they have the tools to record those interactions, so that way no one can lie about what's being said. And you'd be surprised when you in states where you need to inform somebody that they're being recorded. When you tell one of these engineers that's hired by an insurance company or an adjuster that they're being recorded, they'll say, "Oh, I'm gonna refuse to do the inspection then. I'm gonna leave. That's against our company's policy." Why is that? What were you planning on doing at this property that you don't want to be recorded doing? You were coming here to do a thorough and fair investigation of the claim, right? What were you planning on doing here today that you don't want to be caught on camera doing? Right?
Yeah.
The first question I ask if they say that they're leaving.
Oh yeah. And what you mentioned, I want to make sure the audience understands what you were talking about with a one-party state versus a two-party states. There are some states to where as long as one party that's involved with the interaction is aware that the conversation is being recorded, it could be legally used in proceedings. And then there are other states to where all parties need to be aware that there is a recording. Now, one thing that I think that people should reach out to you about to confirm if they are in a city or state that represents this, but from what I understand, there is case law that there is no expectation of privacy if someone from the insurance company comes onto your private property. So even if you're in a
there are some exceptions.
Even if you're
that would apply in certain states.
To where, and you want to reach out to Jared to confirm, but if they are on your insured's private property and your insured gives you permission to record all of your engagements on that private property, it can still potentially be utilized by Jared, even though that other party wasn't aware. And the reason why I'm bringing that up is because sometimes just telling somebody that they are being recorded can switch it to an adversarial pose, or it could change those warranties and those guarantees and those things that they were saying to you on site. And so,
and if you don't know and you want to be safe, you can tell them, look, please be aware that at any point, anywhere on my property, you may be recorded.
Yes, and that can be a simple sign by the front door. And once again, because I'm like this, my approach as a public adjuster is always to avoid any unnecessary conflict, right? So that being said, what I do in a lot of instances, because I never was that type that would record all of my co-inspections with the insurance company, which I probably should, but for me. For me, what I would do is I would go and I would build that relationship with the independent adjuster or staff adjuster, whoever the field adjuster that comes to the house. The misconception that a lot of people have about field adjusters is the field adjuster has no authority. And that might be true to the extent where that adjuster is going to take stuff off, but actually, if you're paying attention to agency law, and make sure you reach out to Jared to understand what agency law is, but if you're focusing on that field adjuster has just as much authority as that desk adjuster. That field adjuster has just as much authority as that claim manager. That field adjuster has just as much authority as anybody else that's touched that claim. So what I used to do was allow the misconception to help me. So that field adjuster in their mind thinking they don't got no power. But I know they have power. So, I would ask them real questions and get their real answer. And because they didn't think they didn't have any power, they would tell me what they truly felt. And they would call out the different items that they truly did. So because I didn't have a recording device, before I would leave that property, I would email the field adjuster name as well as the insurance company saying, hey, it was great meeting you on the site per our conversation. And then I would name out all the things that we discussed. Even if that adjuster seems so friendly, don't fall for it. write down everything that y'all discussed and all of the things that they said should be covered under the policy. And then here's the most important. I would put under what that recollection of the conversation and engagement, I would put, if any of my recollection is wrong, please reply back with the correction. Here's what would happen.
Right, immediately.
Most of the time, they never reply. And the way most statutes work in most states, the insurance company has up to 14 days to reply in response to any claim related question. So at day 15, even though I didn't record it with a microphone, even though the field adjuster sworn that they didn't have any authority, because I did it and documented that way, that became what actually happened that day. And
that leads to another point. Very important: request delivery and read receipts when you send emails, ladies and gentlemen, when it comes to claims. I cannot stress the importance of that enough. Request those delivery receipts, that way someone can't say, oh, I didn't get that. Yes, you did. I have proof right here. Fax over a copy as well, just to be safe and get that confirmation. If you're going to mail something, mail it via certified mail, so there's no question as to whether or not your insurance company got what you sent.
Absolutely. And to add on to what you just said, Jared, I would say, if you're going to take the trouble of mailing something, which typically what I would do is I would mail my initial claim package. I would do certified mail, return receipt requested.
Exactly.
The reason why I would do that is when you look at the statutes of a lot of these states, it specifically says certified mail, return receipt requested. All right. Yeah. A lot of times they're going to let it slide. A lot of times they're going to be like, oh yeah, he just certified it. A lot of times they're going to be like, all right, he sent it via email and he did, and he got a red receipt. But if they actually go and look at the statute word for word, they'll be able to see that my initial claim package was sent certified mail, return receipt requested. And that brings me back to your first point, presentability. Presentability, of course, very important, is the ability to be able to convey it to somebody and to get them to see your vision. But it first starts with your claim package. Is there no advice that you can give adjusters, public adjusters, to make sure that their claim package is organized?
Well, yeah, and look, one of the first questions before you get to presentability, I wanted to stress the importance of that, is credibility. Right? In terms of what qualifications you have, you need to be a licensed public insurance adjuster. That is very important in terms of credibility. That doesn't mean that all experts need to be licensed public insurance adjusters, but if you're working as a public insurance adjuster, you need to be licensed for sure. Different types of certifications for, different courses and, different, subject matter. The more, certifications or education that you have, the more that goes towards your credibility. And in terms of making your claims packet presentable, obviously you're going to want to, certify. You're going to want to. A lot of states, they require a sworn proof of loss, right? And that's often required in the policy. That's, oftentimes has not historically been the case in Louisiana, but based on recent, legislative acts, it could be required, right? So, that's something that is very important that I would tell you to always check for. Make sure if there's a sworn proof of loss in there, make sure you submit one for your client and make sure you submit it timely. Obviously photo documentation is extremely important. If you're going to claim, if you're going to allege something is damaged, you need to provide photos to back it up. Is it required in all states under the law in terms of putting the carrier on notice? No, but does it make the case stronger that the carrier should have paid sooner than they did? Absolutely. Because there's no reason that they shouldn't have known that damage existed, because you sent pictures in showing the damage. I think that's extremely important. Always, like I said, if you're gonna email, get that read receipt, delivery receipt. If I'm sending something to an insurance company on behalf of a client pre-litigation, I am going to copy everyone at an insurance company that has been involved in the claim at any point in time. I am going to copy their general claims email, and I am going to document every person that received that email. Right? They can't say they didn't get it.
That's you want. You sound like a bulldog. You want your attorney to be a bulldog, copying everybody, right?
Yeah, no, definitely. If they were involved in the claim at any point, I'm including them on it. Especially when it comes to that proof of loss package, like you're talking about. And definitely save evidence that you have of your submission of that proof of loss package. Those are just some things that I think are very important. Like I said, I think recording that initial adjuster inspection is very important. I think that's in terms of, because I said those field adjusters will often come out, especially the first one, and say, "Oh, I see that. Obviously, those are that's damaged by the storm, and you need to fix that. You need to replace that roof." And then all of a sudden, everything's changed. If you documented that, or like you said, you at least sent an email memorializing, "Hey, this email shall serve to memorialize, the contemporaneous notes that I took during your inspection, where you agreed X, Y, and Z. If any of this is inaccurate, please state what you believe is inaccurate, why you believe it to be inaccurate, and provide information that will resolve any and all inaccuracies."
Absolutely.
Yeah, and make them make them investigate your claim thoroughly. That's the thing, is a lot of times they're betting, especially right now in this highly adversarial environment, that one, they can wear people down, two, that people will not retain attorneys, and three, that they will save more money by people not getting attorneys and not wanting to fight this, and then they will be penalized for any of their bad behavior. I think it is a very common misconception that if you fight your insurance company on your claim, then that you shouldn't do that, because then you might get dropped, or you might get canceled, might not renew the policy, and then you might be stuck without insurance. I can say that generally speaking, insurance companies typically make those decisions based on geographic location, and geographic risk assessment in terms of specific areas, regardless of whether or not you made a claim. But once you've made a claim, you're already considered to be a bad guy in their eyes, right? How far you pursue that claim and pursue justice and your rights in regards to that claim under the policy that you paid for is, unlikely to affect whether or not they cancel your policy or not, or decide not to renew your policy. And oftentimes, making decisions based on those factors, like whether or not you hired an attorney, in some states that can be illegal. So, if at any point an adjuster tells you, "Oh, if you get an attorney, then we're going to cancel you," or if your agent says that, you need to let your attorney know about that. Absolutely. But they're betting that that they've scared people against getting attorneys, that they've scared people against hiring public adjusters, and they've scared people against speaking with contractors, and there's and that they're gonna save a lot of money if they handle claims in a very adversarial manner. At the end of the day, they're gonna save money because people are going to get worn down, and oftentimes choose alternative methods of getting their property restored, like dipping into their 401k or their pension plan or their retirement account, or taking out a second mortgage on the property. They'll do something else, and it's a very unfortunate thing for someone to really lose a large degree of financial stability because an insurance company is not doing what they're supposed to do under a policy that you paid for month in and month out. You upheld your end of the bargain when you paid those premiums every month, and they need to uphold theirs when something happens to your property.
Yeah, you seem very passionate about this. Of course, first party property loss is a niche section of the law. Not a lot of people know that it exists, right? But even so, there are a lot of attorneys who practice it. Is there nothing that differentiates you from other attorneys that a public adjuster or a contractor or a property owner would work with?
Wait, I'm sorry. Your question was: is there something that differentiates, me and the firm that I work with?
Yeah,
Yeah, as opposed to other attorneys. Like I said, we specialize in this area of practice.
I mean, of the people who specialize in it.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I mean,
there's nothing that differentiates you. Because here's the thing. I've worked with enough attorney firms to understand that attorneys have different roles. Some attorneys are litigating. Some attorneys are arguing. Some attorneys are out, developing new business relationships. Is there nothing that differentiates you?
Sure. I mean, I think that I have a proven track record in regards to claims handling. I have a proven track record of success. I am a third generation insurance attorney. In other words, my grandfather helped people fight their insurance companies in terms of medical malpractice. My dad represents people against insurance companies for personal injuries, and I represent people against their insurance companies for damage to their properties. I am very comfortable in a courtroom setting from having been a former prosecutor on behalf of the state of Louisiana. And I prosecute your property damage claim like I would prosecute someone who is beating their wife at home when I was a prosecutor for the state. And that's the truth of the matter, is that I take personal offense to what insurance companies do to their insureds and the mistreatment that they subject them to at often one of the most traumatic points and moments in their lives. And I have a proven track record of holding them accountable for that mistreatment and getting them fairly paid. If you go Google insurance claim HQ, you'll see what, and that's not just me. Our firm as a whole has a proven track record of success when it comes to handling these claims, both in Louisiana and around the country. Like I said, if you Google insurance claim HQ, which is what we're known as in many states, you'll see our Google reviews. I believe we have 4.9 out of 5 stars. You'll see that there's a video testimonial for a small business that I handled, that I represented. You'll see plenty of positive reviews on there. I don't think I have one review that's less than 5 stars. Like I said, I represent people and businesses like they're my own claims. I take the mistreatment and the unfair treatment by insurance companies against their insureds personally. I really do. And again, I'm someone that that people know likes to be in court and is not scared to be in court. I think that is very important in terms of differentiating different attorneys. But again, this is what we specialize in. This is what I focus on day in and day out. I don't think there's enough attorneys that do specialize in this area of practice. But our firm is one of, if not the largest firms in the state of Louisiana that handles these claims. One of the biggest and fastest growing in the country. And we have a very notable record of success. If you go on our website, you can see the statistics and how much money we've recovered for our clients already. And I think the numbers speak for themselves there. I don't want to, be seen as bragging or unhumble or not humble. So I'm not going to engage in bad mouthing other attorneys or lifting myself up that high, Randolph. But I'm a man of great integrity and someone who represents his clients very passionately, and a lot of different people know how great of a job I do, and they are very vocal about who they think people should go to if they have an issue with their insurance company for a property casualty claim.
Oh yeah, you need to provide your referrers with the tools to refer you with pride, right?
Yes.
And that's what you have. One thing that I noticed about you is your availability. Like you're always answering your phone. You answer. You're negotiating, and next thing you know, you got a public adjuster calling, and then you got a contractor calling you, then you have a homeowner, then a commercial property owner, all in the same day, and you're picking up the phone, you're solving problems, you're putting out fires as it's happening. Is that not always something? Because that's not typical.
This stuff's my life. I really care about these people and these businesses. If I were to fail a property owner, it would be absolutely devastating to me. It would haunt me forever. I really truly care about each and every one of my former, current, and future clients.
Right, and before I let you go, I want to talk about the Level Up Claims Summit. Can you? Is it not possible for you to give me some insight on what that is and who should attend?
Sure. I mean, I think that it's a event that we've been doing for a few years now. Gail and Hare, the founding partner at Hare Trial Attorneys, also known as Insurance Claim HQ. It's his pride and joy. It's his baby, and he brings on a lot of high-level business CEOs and business owners and business coaches, as well as people within our the property casualty industry that offers really valuable and useful information to business owners, whether or not you're in this industry or you're in a different industry. I highly recommend everyone attend. It's a really great event. We host it here in at our home base in New Orleans, near our home office, our headquarters in M.I.R.A.C.L.E. And it's a really, like I said, just a really great event, and it's only gotten better every year. And I'm very proud to participate in it. And I'm very proud of what he's accomplished in terms of both professionally and in terms of that summit. I will definitely be calling and recommending that people within the industry come for sure. But I don't think it's not something that he's created that I think should only be geared towards the property casualty insurance industry, or the construction industry, or the insurance adjusting industry, or the claims industry. I think a lot of the lessons that the speakers and the insights that they provide to the audience is applicable, no matter what type of business that you run. But I think it's, like I said, the information is invaluable and is a really fun experience. And it's really great to see everybody there every year. I look forward to seeing everybody there this June as well.
Is there nothing that I should have asked you?
I think if there's something that I would leave with, like what are some things that I do? Like I know you talked early when we first came on about how attorneys, oftentimes bill for a lot of money and things like that. There are a number of services that I offer for free. First of all, every claim evaluation that we do for people is free. We are not going, I am not going to charge anyone for just evaluating your claim and telling you my opinion based on the documents that you currently have. I may tell you that I need more. I need more than what you currently have to give you a full opinion. But no matter what, I'm happy to look over anybody's claim at any time. I also look over the contracts for contractors and public adjusters for free to make sure that they are including very important language in there that will protect their rights. Make sure that they are properly informed of the status of claims and things of that nature. I've helped a lot of public adjusters and contractors open their own businesses. So I look over contracts and things like that for free. And I am currently doing a holiday campaign to get more, to protect more policyholders, regardless of whether you're a public insurance adjuster that works with us, that refers us clients or not, or you're a contractor that refers clients, or if you've said something mean about me, it doesn't matter. I want to get a recording device in your hands so that you can better protect the policyholders that you interact with. And that's I think one of the most things that speaks volumes about myself as a person and our firm and Galen and all the attorneys that work with our firm, is that we are people who care, and we don't always charge for everything. As I'm sure you're aware, all of our contracts are on a fully contingent basis, meaning that we do not make any money unless we make you money. We do not, you will never have an instance where we are asking for money out of your account, where you're getting an hourly bill from us. Our contracts are fully contingent on us obtaining a more favorable outcome for you and us obtaining new money in our clients' pockets. That's the only way that we get paid. And I think it's very important that all attorneys handle these matters similarly, that you do not charge people and businesses money by the hour regardless of outcome, or charge people regardless of outcome. I think it's very important that every case that I take, I believe that I can take to trial and win, period. And I am willing to, and the firm's willing to put, the money that it takes to prosecute that claim up, because at the end of the day, they believe in my ability to do that. And if someone is being underpaid by their insurance company after, they've suffered damage to their property, they're probably not in a financial position to be paying an attorney anything out of their pocket. So I think it's very important that attorneys work, fully on a contingent basis for these homeowners and these business owners. I think it's very important. If you are a contractor, a roofer, a public insurance adjuster, even if you're another plaintiff's attorney and you want to get your hands on one of these recording devices, feel free to give me a call or shoot me an email, shoot me a text, and I'm happy to help. I'm spreading holiday joy in that way. And again, protecting the most policyholders that we possibly can by getting these pens out, regardless of whether, you know, it's someone that, like I said, that I know personally or not. I want, like I said, the audio and video evidence of one adjuster saying one thing and then another adjuster, the same adjuster, turning around and you know, doing the exact opposite of what they said is some of the strongest evidence of bad faith claims handling and unfair claims handling that you can possibly have, and that can make a huge difference in a policyholder's claim. So, you know, again, I want to get those out to as many people as I can, as many contractors and public adjusters as I can, so that way they can protect, you know, people from any insurance adjusters and engineers that are looking to, you know, unfairly treat people in regards to their first-party property claims.
Oh man, that's powerful.
Besides that, man, I think you've asked a bunch of very good and insightful questions. I've had a great time speaking with you, as I always do. I'm glad I finally got a chance to come on your podcast, which I find very entertaining myself. I think that it's very important for people, for, you know, the conversations that you have are fully honest. Like you say, we bear it all. And I'm glad that I was able to come on here and do that today. I'm very happy to answer any other questions anyone might have. Feel free to reach out to me. Like Rand said, I'm typically pretty responsive. I try to be as responsive as I can. And yeah, I've had a really great time on here, and I really appreciate you having me on, Rand.
Oh yeah. And so what is your contact information for people who have questions for you, or they want those devices? What is the contact information?
My phone number is 504-910-6221, and my email is JShearman, that's JShearman at H as in Harry, S as in Sally, T as in Tom, A as in Apple, law, that's LAW.com. So again, that's JShearman at HSTAlaw.com. If you search my name, Jared, Jared, my last name is Shearman, Shearman, and Insurance Claim HQ. That's the abbreviation for headquarters, HQ. You know, you can find all of my pertinent information, or you can just reach out to Rand, and I'm sure he'll give it to you. So
absolutely.
I'm pretty easy to get in touch. To get a hold of, you can find me on Facebook. Feel free to add me. You know, I'm typically as responsive as I can be. So,
Jared Shearman, and we're gonna hit you with one last thing, and we want to thank you so much for being a guest on the Entrepreneurs podcast. Do you not have any positive affirmation or affirmations that you tell to yourself?
I do. You know, I think it's really important that people, you know, both go to bed and wake up, you know, telling themselves that you got this. You know, you got this every day. You know, that I am a force for policyholders, and I will not be stopped. I will not give up. I will fight, and I will, you know, zealously represent my clients, you know, and I refuse to lose until a jury tells me no, and that hasn't happened yet. So I think it's very important to, you know, look at yourself in the mirror every day, make sure that you are dressed for success, number one, and number two, you know, remind yourself that, you know, you got this, that you have a warrior spirit, and, you know, go at every day, you know, giving it your 100%. If you do that, you cannot have any regrets in terms of your work product. If you give everything you do 100%, at the end of the day, you can't regret the work that you did. And that's what I do every single day.
Absolutely. This has been another episode of the Entrepreneurs Podcast. I am your host, Randolph Love III, host, financial advisor, estate planner extraordinaire. Thank you so much, JShearman, first party property loss attorney.
Thank you, Randolph. It's been great. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.